You're listening to The Arms Room on the Vets on Media Network.
All right, you're on the Arms with Glenn.
John.
Oh my God, that was so loud. Adam, what the heck?
And John.
And John.
That's better. Ooh, kind of hurt my ears.
You send Mason away for 2 weeks. 2 weeks, things go awry.
Well, at least the music's still working correctly
That's
now.
true.
Mason can't figure that one out.
What's going on, Adam?
Not much, man. Well, a lot. I'm just, but I'm here with you guys.
You just being humble
Again,
about it?
Loving it. I'm glad that I'm here again this week, to be honest with you.
We are too.
I am glad.
Looking forward to this show.
Is
not very
Mason
convincing.
Is Mason back next week?
Next week, but I think next week we're on location, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, yeah, we are. We're going to be Ar500 Armor shooting some armor.
And I remembered it this time, huh? Yeah.
Well done, sir.
Yes.
Yes.
Well done. And
I am excited now.
And what an appropriate time to mention that this show is brought to you by Ar500 Armor.
What?
That was good. I like how you led into that. That was, yeah.
Is there a new commercial going to be?
I can either confirm or deny. I guess we'll.
You can either confirm.
It might be a surprise.
Okay.
Might be a surprise.
Thanks.
Might have something for you.
That means no.
Might have something for you.
He got too busy.
Thanks, Sergeant Bird, for the useless information.
All right.
Why don't you pass me some more?
We'll see.
All right. We have our micro carrier in here today. Again, this has pretty much just become my truck rig. I love this thing.
Yeah.
I love the idea of a micro carrier. It's small. It just covers my vitals, but it still allows me to move quickly and run frantically around without
like your hair is on fire.
Yeah, without any, debilitating
Excess weight.
cummerbunds and excess weight. I can't hold 12 magazines on it, though, so I cannot be internet famous because I don't carry 12 magazines. Just one.
Well, that
rifle,
carrier's
one
too
pistol.
small. I'll just shoot you in the guts.
That's my favorite. I love when people say that. I'm like, yeah, and that's why in training, you can't hit the broadside. You can't hit the target on the move, but you're going to shoot me in the gut with your high-speed ninja skills
while I'm attempting to slip.
while I'm shooting at you.
I was going for your kneecaps anyway.
Yeah, right. All right, so in the studio with us today, we have our very good friend, longtime friend, Matt Shozda.
I was going to help you out with that.
I was trying to think, how do I say, is like retired lieutenant colonel, former.
That's a good way to say it. Just
Is that a good
stop
way?
right there.
Just stop.
Stop while it sounds good.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So retired Lieutenant Colonel Matt Shozda, who's been a friend of mine for a long time. Really one of my only friends, actually, who was an officer above 03, I think.
Yeah. That's because most of them are.
All the rest of them are too good for me. Thanks, Matt, for not being too good for me. I appreciate it.
Well, you're still of use to me.
And there it is. Always got to keep a few enlisted guys around, right? So before we get on to our show's topic, I want to mention something real quick. I posted it on the Arms Room Facebook page, and I want everyone's attention to be brought to it. Okay. I freaking hate cheaper than dirt. All right. If I could get whoever owns cheaper than dirt, if I could get them in the studio,
my phone's been going like every 30 seconds. I'm
punch
like
him in
looking
the
at it. It's like,
throat,
what
man.
the whole ride here this morning, my phone was going off.
What'd you do?
And I was like, what? Arms Room. I was like, what did he post? So I get in and I see it and I was just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
What'd you do?
I pretty much hate cheaper than dirt. Every time there's
Are they gouging again?
Yes. So there's this whole thing, the BATFE, right?
Yeah.
They sent this letter.
It was a white paper.
A white paper that
Probably
that mentioned that there may possibly be a move to ban M855 and SS109, which is 62 grain green tip ammunition, simply because it has a steel core projectile and it can penetrate some types of armor. And it wasn't a problem for the sporting purposes, but now that there are, there's such
It's the pistol thing in the
Exactly.
AR pistols.
There's such a high rate of AR pistols out there that now they're worried about armor-piercing ammunition available in a concealable package, right? So what does cheaper than dirt do? They take all their SS109 and M855 stuff, they jack it up to $1 a round. There's already gouging,
and people are going to buy it.
It's unbelievable. The panic is amazing, and these freaking jerks See how I'm watching my language, Adam? Aren't you proud?
I am.
These freaking jerks, all right, they maximize on these things. And there's a difference between capitalism and rape. All right. There's a difference between those two things. Okay. And so some people they go, oh, well, it's just capitalism. No, it is not capitalism. This is unbelievable. And I hate these freaking guys. Every time there's a panic, the first thing to do is jack their prices. Now, I can appreciate that because, I'm sure there's idiots out there buying this crap.
Well, here's the thing. If you're going to raise your prices, raise them with the market. If you're going to raise them a little bit, raise them a little bit above the market. But don't immediately go and start creating.
Don't help create the panic.
Exactly.
There's no need to help create the panic. People are going to be panicking.
People will do that on their own.
Look,
very well.
I'm not that old, all right? And Matt's really old, so he could probably chime in better. But when the
NFA was originally enacted in 19...
No, the Great Bread Panic of 1911.
The potato famine.
In my short life, there's been 4 end of the worlds. We've had at least a dozen times where guns were going to be banned. All guns were going to be banned. There's going to be blood in the streets. Grab your guns, patriots. It's time to water the Liberty Tree and all that nonsense, right? Dude, stop panicking and stop feeding this crap. And cheaper than dirt. Look, if you're still buying from cheaper than dirt,
you're wrong.
You're wrong. Stop.
It's that simple.
Stop supporting these people. They're not your friends. They're not on our side. And they're the kind of people, quite frankly, that would, they're the kind of friends you have that's always hooking you up seemingly with good deals, and then they'll flip on you in a heartbeat. That's cheaper than dirt. Quit buying crap from cheaper than dirt. All right, that's the end of my rant.
Very well.
Let's get on.
The Vets on Media Network does not endorse.
It absolutely does endorse because nobody likes cheaper than dirt.
Actually, Glenn, that was a good lead into today's episode.
I actually felt like it too. On my drive down here, which by the way was
he's been working.
How many lives did you ruin?
Awesome. My drive this morning was fantastic. I think someone had a heart attack.
I'd say there's probably several car accidents in your wake.
There were some people. I broke the land speed record this morning getting here on time. But it actually is a good lead in because you don't have to panic if you're prepared, right, Matt?
That's right. I mean, what you're talking about is, okay, all these people, how many times has the world ended?
Mm-hmm.
And everybody's worried so much about, well, the end of the world, the end of the world. What am I going to do? I need a cabin. I need to be able to hole up. I need to have 10 years food supply and 10 million rounds of ammo. Really? Actually,
10 rounds in a dead man's rucksack. That's my policy.
That is true. That is true. So what our topic is today on the show is leading a prepared lifestyle, diverting and avoiding trouble. And we're not, from now on, right? We're not gonna say the word gun. So for the rest of the show, we're not gonna say that word anymore. And the reason being is because everybody looks at the prepared lifestyle and thinks that piece of equipment is the thing that's going to prepare them for the end of the world. That they're going to hole up in their little bunker area and they're going to hold off this invading force, this horde of people.
Right.
And they're going to do so with, their trained family fire team or their trained,
their buddy who never gets off the couch.
Yeah, exactly. They're all 300 pounds or whatever. We're going to defend ourselves. It's like, whoa. Because here's the thing. Even if the person in question was, retired smudge with freaking 25 years under his belt,
some
special operations or something like
dude.
that. You know what I mean? He still can only hold off so many people. So that's not what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about a real, actual prepared lifestyle and how to prepare for not just the end of the world, which is something everyone always prepares for. Yet still waiting, by the way, still waiting for the end of the world.
I think there used to
I've
be
had a lot
guy,
of personal emergencies, but no.
I know back in the 80s,
not yet.
Back in the late 80s and early 90s, there's a guy that wrote a book every year. So in 1989, it was 89 reasons why the world's going to end this year. And in 1990 and 91 and 92 and so on and so forth. I think he may have stopped writing those books now. Because
Probably
I think
not.
he realized that the world's not actually going to end when he thinks it is.
Maybe, but
well, I mean, it brings up the first thing. Okay, why are you preparing? And that's a question I think that a lot of people don't truly ask. They look at the sensationalism. They look at the conspiracies. We don't need conspiracies. Just follow the money and follow, actually look at what happens in life.
Mhm.
I mean, that's a good place to start. But I think if people would actually sit down for a moment and say, okay, well, what do I need to be ready for? You know, if the world ends, number one, there's a pretty good chance you're going with it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
Yeah,
probably not.
Everyone talks about the end of the
Probably
world
not the best bet.
as if they're exempted.
Yeah, exactly. What is it?
Well,
The
I think
movie,
you
The
hit it.
Omega Man. Yeah. Well, I will be the Omega Man. You won't,
Yeah.
because you're not as special as I am.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about your kind of mentality, Matt, because really the big reason we wanted to have you on the show today is, you and I have had, if you added it all up, probably a year's worth of phone conversations, and we always seem to talk about this kind of stuff. And anytime we go, hiking together, we're hanging out together, it always seems to get centered around the preparedness lifestyle, or how we're going to do different types of training, or how we're going to do these different things. And part of what we're always kind of talking about is how most people don't ever really prepare for the most basic personal emergencies.
Right.
So like if you were going to break it down into, let's say, the top 5 things that people were most likely to encounter in their life, not the end of the world, what do you think that those 5 things would be?
Vehicle malfunction, either a breakdown or a crash. Number one, a family medical emergency, because we all have family members who are not well, or just somebody breaks a bone or cuts themselves. I don't know if I can come up with 5. Financial emergency,
Like job loss,
layoffs, or poor investments, or
Right.
A car, like my son rolls the van. Well, that's kind of, nobody got hurt, but it became a financial emergency of sorts, because now suddenly I have to replace a van that was paid for, and I've got higher insurance costs. I've got now car payments. So those sort of things. So I think those are the top 3: is a vehicle problem, a medical emergency, and then a financial emergency of some sort.
How about, I like to kind of break financial emergency down into maybe 2 categories, and one would be an unexpected high expense, and the other would be like the loss of a job.
Sure. Loss of income.
And I think an unexpected financial expense doesn't have to be like something big. It can be something like, well, I'll give you an example. I have a friend of mine who, during a crazy time in a blizzard, she lives in the Midwest, had to buy a ton of supplies at gouged rates.
Right.
And so all of a sudden, all the prices shot up because it was a supply and demand issue. And all of a sudden, she's really having to reach deep into a savings account to make sure that she can provide for her family.
Well, the size of the financial emergency sort of depends on how close to the edge you're living, doesn't it? I mean, we could have the same incomes, but the fact that I've got $30,000 in credit card debt and 3 new cars that you don't have, suddenly the same financial emergency is going to affect me a lot more than it's going to affect you.
Well, I think that this kind of goes into one of the first points you and I talked about, which was denial kills.
Yeah.
Yeah,
very much.
And it's the idea that everybody denies. I'm not exempted from that. I've certainly been blindsided by things before that I knew were coming, but just kind of chose to ignore. Denial kills. If you deny that bad things are going to happen to you, then when they do, not if they do, when they do, you are not going to be prepared for them. Whether that's a financial emergency because you haven't been saving, whether it's a food shortage because you haven't been stocking up, whether it is, this is kind of an odd topic, but I remember in high school, all right, I remember looking at girls in high school who would just be scrambling around, asking all these teachers, all the female teachers, like, "Oh, do you have any extra tampons or pads?" I didn't bring any. And I'm like, "What are you, stupid? Is this this has been happening to you for like a while now, right?"
But you're surprised.
But you're surprised by it. And that was like the first dumb emergency that people weren't prepared for I saw in my life.
I remember that exact.
Yeah. You were like, "What are you, stupid? Like, you don't stock up on this? If this happened to me, like, I don't know, once a month at least, I would pretty much have something ready for it. You know what I mean?
It gets down to,
right?
Your example aside, a lot of the issues in the world are kind of complex, and it's hard to really get your handle on it. I don't know when a car accident's going to happen.
Right.
I don't know when I'm going to lose my job necessarily. So all these things, it's so complex. I think the default and the easiest position is just to pretend it doesn't exist.
But I don't even know if all of them are that complex. Like, yes, some of them are complex. A vehicle accident could be complex.
But then when you start thinking about it, it's like,
than-
okay, well, gosh, if I start planning for a vehicle accident, that means I've got to get some first aid training. I need to buy some equipment. I got to do this. I got to do this. And it just becomes overwhelming. And part of that, like you said, denial kills. It comes down to looking at the world for as it is instead of how you think it should be.
Right.
Because you hear it all the time. Well, but it's not fair.
Mm-hmm.
But the people shouldn't be poor. The people should have access to healthcare or whatever it is. Okay, well, great. So it's not fair, but it's still the way it is. Bad things happen. So just look at it, and if it's an issue or a concern for you, then find a way to deal with it.
Well, one of our listeners, Tim, who actually was one of a few guys who recommended this topic for us during the last time we were building our calendar, which, by the way, we're almost done with our new calendar, and it's all based on listener recommendations. So if you want to recommend something to us, you definitely need to, we've always built our calendar. Other than the very first calendar we built, because we didn't really have any listeners. Other than that one, we always build our calendar based on listener recommendations. So please, shoot us an email, get on our Facebook page, post. I post up on the Facebook page usually when we're doing this. I'll post on a couple of different gun forums. Let us know what you want to hear about, because our new one, I think we only have like 2 slots left for the next 3 months. And yeah, we're just waiting for a couple of people to get back, all based on listener recommendations. So Tim, again, who was one of the kind of ideas behind this topic, just dropped us a message, and it said, the end of the world stuff, I think, is an escapist fantasy for a lot of people. They don't want to deal with the day-to-day issues they could but won't fix, so they imagine the end of the world is something that will wipe the slate clean for them.
Right.
And I think that goes into that whole denial thing of like, I don't want to think that a vehicle accident might happen or that I might have a medical emergency that's going to cost me a lot of money or cost me time from my job or something. That's all kind of, it's not to sound weird, but I guess it's kind of less scary than the end of the world, because the end of the world is like, oh, I got a clean slate now. I can kind of do whatever I want to. I'll kind of be cut loose. I'll kind of be free.
I think Tim's right. It's when we worry about zombies in the end of the world, we know it's fiction. We know it's fantasy, and we can do whatever we want in the fantasy world. And that, he's right, it's a form of escapism. So as long as I'm watching TV, I don't have to go through the hard work of building a business or reading a book or learning something, because I can just stay in the fantasy land of whatever's on network TV tonight. And so I think he's right. And I've certainly been in parts of my life where everything's overwhelming and you just want to think about some fantasy island, and you just kind of wish the world would end, because it'd be so much easier just to cap people.
You sit down and you crack a beer and you watch some TV for a few hours and just forget about everything.
I may or may not have my neighborhood totally planned out. Not everyone's going to make it.
I can neither confirm nor deny that. I think one of the big things that it comes down to in general for being prepared for stuff, it's laziness. I think people don't want to stop, take the time to sit down and really evaluate where they're at in their life and evaluate the things that they need to work on.
I don't know. I would disagree with you, because the same thing in the health and the nutrition area. It's like, why is our country getting fatter and more diabetes? And the argument is, look, we've told you everything what to do, but you guys obviously are just not eating right and exercising. Well, I think it's bullshit. I think people are not, it's not that people are lazy and don't care. I think it's a question of perspective. It's what are we taught? We're taught to be good little industrial age robots in school. And I don't think that people are really taught to think. So I would say that it's not a failing of the individual as much as it is just you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
That's part of the problem. So I think that's where conversations like this are good, because you give people a different perspective. and you want to talk about perspective. I view food storage and prepping as a form of investment, as a form of insurance. And a perfect example of that is my buddy Mike, who, when I first started really getting into this a few years ago, he lost his job. And I'm like, man, Mike, that sucks. What are you going to do? He said, well, I don't know, because I don't have the skills that you have to fall back on. However, I've got 6 months worth of food and I've got my RV, so I know I'm going to be okay. It might not be fun because Mountain House food is going to get pretty old after a while, but I've got 6 months worth of food. So from Mike's perspective, he dipped into the bank.
Yeah.
So he saw it as an investment. Most people are, what the popular media says is that prepping, it's paranoia. It's, you're a psycho. You're the guys on the National Geographic channel, or you're a more acceptable extreme is a Cody Lundin type who, you're into survival, but you're into it in an extreme way.
Still not socially acceptable.
Yeah.
Right.
It's still odd. So it's a question of changing perspective. And that's why this is an important conversation, because look, prepping is going to help you in the end of the world zombie scenario, but that's not why you should be doing it.
Right.
You should be doing it because every day there are car accidents, people lose their jobs, people get sick, people hurt themselves. Those are and like you said, you lose your job or you have an unexpected expense, preparedness helps. And the other beauty of it all is problem solving is a skill. And the better you learn how to solve a problem in one sort of crisis, the better you're going to be in any crisis that you encounter.
Well, I think that one of your lessons that I like, and we'll talk a little bit about that here in a minute, but is hope is not a plan.
Right.
And and of course, especially on this national basis that we have, the whole like hope and change thing.
Yeah.
I don't remember who said that. It was this guy that
inconsequential.
But anyways, the point is hope is not a plan, right? And I think that's where a lot of people fall into with preparedness. Is I remember we were doing this this expo, a prepper expo. Actually, we were at as independence training. Telling people about training, mostly medical stuff. I think we were really focused on. Mm-hmm. And one of our friends, Sean from the Tactical Medic, was there, and he's got his big booth with all supplies set up. And this old guy was over there talking to us, older guys who say he was probably, I don't know, maybe 70 or 80. And he was talking to us about training. We were trying to get him interested in medical training. He was like, oh, no, I'm not really into that. Blood freaks me out, whatever. Okay, that's fine. Whatever, that's acceptable. And so then he says, but I still want to put some kind of kit together. And I go, well, why do you want to put a kit together? And he goes, because then if I have a kit with me at all times, and maybe somebody will be there to help me out. And he went over, so I helped him put one of our small kits together. And then he's like, well, where do you get your stuff? And I'm like, from that guy right over there, right? Tactical Medic. So I take him over to the Tactical Medic, and he then purchases, between us and Sean, he probably bought at least $500 worth of medical supplies, big
with
kits,
no training whatsoever.
Surgical. Yeah, he bought surgical kits, wound closure stuff, IV starter kits, all kinds of stuff. No idea how to use any of it. Literally based on the hope that if he ever needed it, someone would be there to administer to him. And I thought to myself, it's kind of funny as you have these things that really stick in your mind. That was something that really stuck in my mind as, some people are freaking crazy. You know what I mean? That's just hope is not a plan.
Well, it's the same reason. People don't want to take self-defense training or buy a gun because, in effect, they're hoping that the police will be there. Mm-hmm. Well, look, there's still a response time. And whether that response time is 5 minutes or 50 minutes is irrelevant because by the time the cops do show up, it's all over and done with. Unless they happen to be standing right on the corner. And as case after case has shown, the cops are not legally obligated to defend you.
Much. Yeah.
They probably will, but probably is just another word for hope, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, we got to take our first break. I like that. Probably is just another word for hope. And on that, we're going to take our first break. When we come back, we're going to keep talking about their preparedness lifestyle, how to avoid and divert trouble. You are listening to The Arms Room.
Would you like to own a thriving business and help employ local veterans? The Metroplex Handyman Construction and Landscape business is the opportunity you've been waiting for. The Metroplex is your gateway to an affordable startup business with 0% financing for qualifying owners. By owning a Metroplex franchise, you will be hiring veterans, providing them both income and opportunity, while at the same time providing your customers a way to say, thank you for your service to our nation's veterans. For more information, visit Metroplex.org. Again, that's Metroplex.org or call 928-284-2022.
Everyone's going to need an attorney at some point in their life. I'm no different. Hey everyone, it's James from Vets On. Whether it was my last will and testament before deployment or my ongoing custody battle for my children during my divorce, I needed help, so I lawyered up. If you need help, I urge you to contact Capstrom Law Firm. Capstrom Law Firm in Springfield, Missouri services clients throughout the state in criminal law, personal injury, and family law. With over 13 years practicing law, Tom Capstrom understands both law and court procedures and how stressful they can be. Let Tom Capstrom Law Firm and his dedicated staff take the stress and worry out of a difficult situation by calling him today. We feel so strongly about the work that Tom and his staff are doing that he'll be a monthly guest on the show. Tom is a veteran and a listener, for God's sake, so you know the guy is solid and will fight for you. Give Tom a call today by calling 417-864-0552 or email Tom at capstromlaw.com. And don't forget to tell him that Vets On sent you.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertising.
You are a professional. There's no second chances, no do-overs, no theme music. This isn't a movie or a video game. This is your life. Your life and the lives of those you swore to protect and serve depend on you staying in the fight. Get the best at what you do, and you deserve to wear the best. Ar500 Armor is the right choice when lives matter and bullets count. Ar500 Armor is 100% made in the USA. Their level 3 body armor starts at $65 and is stress fracture resistant. Ar500 Armor offers a 20-year shelf life with unprecedented multi-hit capabilities. What does that mean to you? It means you're getting a top American-made product that could save your life at an affordable price. Take it from an infantryman and an Iraq, Afghanistan veteran. The last thing you need to worry about is if your body armor will last in a two-way live fire range. Visit AR500 Armor today by going to AR500Armor.com. Again, that's AR500Armor.com. And don't forget to tell them that the Arms Room sent you.
You're listening to The Arms Room on the Vets On Media Network.
All right, you're back on the Arms Room. We're talking about living a prepared lifestyle to avoid and divert trouble. Adam, do you have something to say? You leaned into the microphone like you were going to say something.
No, I tripped.
You're sitting down, Adam. Only a truck driver could trip sitting down, Adam.
He's gassy.
He's gassy. All right. So we were talking about probably is just another word for hope.
Yep.
Which I like. And hope is not a plan.
I'm
right?
going to steal that.
I like that. Yeah.
All right, it is copywritten.
Oh, hey, you know what? We should have shirts made with that.
Yeah.
Probably is another word for hope. And
Probably is
hope
just
is
another
not a
hope.
plan.
Well, I'll tell you, an interesting thing, just kind of another quick lesson. A little over a week ago, I guess, we did Spartan, which is, of course, a great physical fitness event. This last weekend, I did a color dash, which is a 5K, so 3 miles, with my wife and my 2 oldest kids. And it was the first time I'd done anything with in a family setting like that. And it was awesome. I had a great time. It was good to see my kids working hard to accomplish that and, run 3 solid miles and, great to get out there with my wife. And we have a whole fire.
I used to make my kids do underwaters until they puke.
I bet you did. You're probably like, you want to meet the wizard kids?
That's right.
So it was a really fun event. And what I realized out there is that there were, just like I see at Spartan or Tough Mudder or Go Ruck or any of the other things we do, you see people out there who at first, that kind of uppity up human that you are is like, oh, what's that fatty doing here? You know what I mean? Like, what the heck are they thinking? But then, it's like I said last week about Spartan. I would take anybody who shows up at these events, anybody over anybody who won't. And that's just simply because these people aren't planning on hope.
Yeah.
These people are out there actually doing it. Even the ones who
They're testing themselves.
walk across the finish line are still getting it done.
At some point in those events, when you're in that condition, you're hoping that you finish. You really are, because I've been that guy. I've done a couple of half marathons with no build up to them whatsoever. It's just like, oh crap, I'm supposed to run a half marathon today. You know, you get there, and at a certain point, you hit that what's often called the wall, but you're like, God, I really hope I'm able to finish this. But then you, as that individual, you know you're out there, you know why you're out there. So it's not so much that you're hoping; it's just that's how your mind is.
Yeah, your mind's
kind of driving you to finish that.
Your mind's saying that you hope you do, but really, what you're doing is you're teaching your mind that it's stronger than your body.
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, like you say, whether they crawl across the finish line or sprint across, they're mentally more prepared than somebody who's sitting on the couch planning his training program for next year's Tough Mudder.
Yeah, exactly.
Sprint.
Right.
So,
well, I think it's, you know, the reason I brought that up is because then yesterday, John and I took a class from our good friend Cecil Burch, who's of course been a guest on the show before, runs Immediate Action Combatives. One of the better combatives instructors I've trained with. He's
absolutely
very methodical. He's very good at teaching. He understands the way a body moves. Because when you look at Cecil, of course, for those of you who've seen him on YouTube and our show before, he's not a big physically strapping, MMA fighter. He looks like an insurance salesman, right? Because I always say that he looks like insurance because he is an insurance salesman. So that's why he looks like one.
Yeah.
But he, he's not this big strapping fit. He looks like a normal dude, but he's an international champ. I mean, he travels all over the place giving seminars and teaching. He's been in martial arts constantly, consistently, every single day for 35 years or something like that.
As long as I've been alive.
Yeah, I mean, literally, Cecil's been kicking people's butts for longer than I've been alive, right?
Yep.
And so the cool thing about Cecil is he teaches these classes that are really good for kind of basic and intermediate level as well as advanced stuff. But yesterday's was kind of a basic and intermediate level ground fighting class. And again, there's people there who really were struggling understanding the concepts. And they were just getting rocked. I mean, just rocked. Every time they would get on the mat with someone, it was just game over for them. But you know what? They still came back again.
Right.
And and again, those are the kind of people that I want to train with. So when we talk about like hope is not a plan, those are the kinds of things that I think about. With people who hope, it's like from a fighting perspective or self-defense perspective, people say, oh, well, maybe they had a little bit of, shooting experience in the military. They grew up with guns, or their dad was a cop, or whatever, all the million things we've heard. Or, they know how to fight because they punched some drunk out one time in a bar. They got into a high school scrap and they whipped that guy's butt. You know what I mean? What was that Adam Sandler movie? He was like, I haven't been in a fight since high school, but I kicked that guy's butt. Now I'm going to kick yours or something like that. Like that's, and then he totally gets rocked, right? And
yeah, exactly.
And that's the whole point, is that these people are just hoping that their past experience, that their past whatever is going to get them through this future unknown.
Right.
So it starts with a mindset. It starts with a mindset of saying, I'm responsible for myself and see the world as it really is. Yes, bad things do happen. And now let me make a choice. I'm either going to do something about it or I'm not. And if you're not, then sit down, shut up, and stop whining and stop being a poser. Just own it.
Just say, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do it.
But if you are concerned, you do want to do something, then it comes down to actually doing a little planning and saying, all right, well, what are the biggest things that I'm worried about? Because for you, maybe it's a medical emergency. For me, maybe it's, I drive all the time, so it's a car accident or some other sort of thing. And, natural disasters are a valid thing to prepare for. Just ask anybody in New Orleans back in Katrina. Right. Ask anybody who lives in Florida during hurricane season. Yeah. And to say that we're immune from that in Arizona is a little, again, hopeful, because we have wildfires. The Schultz fire in 2010 had like 700-800 homes evacuated. So yeah, natural disasters happen. And as I say a lot is, if you want to see how thin the veneer of civilization truly is, shut off the water supply to Tucson for a while. And then we'll see how civilized the people we truly are. Yep. So it doesn't take much. So, okay, figure out what it is you want to plan for, prioritize it, and then get busy doing something every week. Just one thing every week.
Well, I think that, you talk about mindset. We hear a lot of people talk about mindset, whether it's training, whether it's emergency response, whatever, backpacking, wilderness survival, whatever, right? It's all mindset. And one of the things, and again, I'll refer back to Cecil, but he wrote a pretty good article that you can find on his iacombatives.com about mindset. And he was talking about how, mindset is important.
Right.
It's important to overcome certain things, but that a skill is still going to trump the best mindset in the world. Because if you have a guy who's got all the mindset in the world but no skill, well, he's still going to get curb stomped or whatever. Because he can have all the mindset he wants.
I love my lever action.
Sure.
Okay. With my lever action, I can go up against probably 80% of the AR owners out there.
Sure.
The 20% I can't are the ones who actually train with their weapon.
Right.
Because it's just a superior weapon for self-defense and for tactical purposes. You've got 30 rounds and you can replace a magazine or a clip or what do you call them? One of those black box things that makes it an automatic.
Shh, sir. Settle down before you hurt yourself.
What was it that makes that an assault killing black rifle? I forget. Anyway, your killer rifle has 30 rounds that you can replace in a fraction of a second. And I've got 9 rounds that I've got to reload one by one. So, my mindset, because I train with my weapon, is going to take care of 80% of the people out there who own the other better weapons.
Right.
But there's that 20% who actually trains and has the same mindset.
Skill's going to overcome it.
Skill's going to overcome it.
Skill and capability. But as you build your skill set, you're also building your mindset. Because if you're confident in your skills and abilities, your mindset will follow. And for me, that class yesterday, I had done that type of
but try to mindset your way through that class.
Oh, no way, dude. Forget it.
Well, someone's on top of you, pummeling the crap out of you. You can mindset all you want.
Nope.
If you don't have the grappling skill, you're going to get smashed.
And I still got smashed. And I have a really good mindset and a pretty good
you're right. Skill will trump mindset, especially if the mindset's equal. I mean, just the same way, the example with the rifles. If your training and mindset is equal to mine, you're still going to beat me because your equipment is superior to mine.
Well, and to go back to another one of your lessons, that is you train the mind and the body will follow.
Yeah.
Right. So the idea there being that we have to, I think the first part of training the mind, and this is something that we encounter in firearms training or self-defense training all the time. Yeah. I always say everyone has a catalyst, right? Everyone wants to learn how to take care of themselves, whether that's emergency medicine, training for self-defense, whatever it may be, because they have a catalyst. Something happened to them. It's been as minor as literally that book 1 second after probably made us like $3,000. I'm not even kidding. I mean, it was a great book for us that year it came out, just simply because people read that book and they go, oh my gosh, I need to get more prepared. And so they started, doing classes with us. And so the whole thing, the point of this is that everyone's got a different catalyst. Some people it's a book, some people it's a movie, some people it's a real world event. Sometimes it's a bad dream even. I've had people sign up because of that. And so you have to have this whole thing that kind of gets you started in the right direction, but you have to start building that mindset of this can really happen to me. And it's going to really
what do they always say for like the alcohol programs, acceptance. You've got to accept that you have a problem before you can actually get beyond the problem. It's really the same thing. If you can't accept that, number one, there are emergencies that can affect you, and number two, that you can actually do something about it, then there's no reason to prepare. If you don't believe it'll happen to you and you don't believe that you can do anything, then why bother? You might as well just go out drinking and, having fun.
And that's the first part of training the mind, and then, the body will follow. You have to first accept the fact that things are going to happen to you. And are bad things going to happen to everybody? Yes. In some capacity, yes. Are major bad things going to happen to everybody? No. How many people really have to use lethal force as a civilian? A very small percentage. How many people have to deal with a life-altering vehicle accident? Not that many, right? I mean, but there's enough of them out there to where it is a realistic possibility.
Vehicle accident, you're talking about 1 to 2% of the population in any given year are going to be in an injury-causing vehicle accident. That's not an insignificant amount.
Well, and you also have to look at the number of, you have to kind of prioritize these things in your life. Like me, I typically put about 3,000 or more miles on my truck every month.
Yeah.
You know, just driving around for training and everything. I'm on the road all the time. We'll talk sometimes in medical classes and I'll bring up like all the vehicle accidents I respond to. And people are like, why do you see so many vehicle accidents? I'm like, because I literally drive all over the Southwest all the time. I'm on freeways and highways where when things go wrong, they go wrong at high speeds. And most of the accidents that I see are deadly or near deadly accidents because it's not like someone just crashing fender bender.
Right.
I see accidents with rollovers, people smashing into each other, smashing guardrails, going over embankments. Those are the kind of things that typically see. I don't see a ton of them, but I would bet on any given year, I probably see 5 to 6 serious vehicle accidents.
You know, right there, kind of bring some of this stuff together. You want to get more prepared. Start out with $100 Red Cross first aid course and put together a first aid kit for your vehicle, for your house that's worth a crap.
Yep.
I mean, that right there for a $200 investment, you can significantly improve your state of readiness. Now, I would hope that people will go beyond a basic first aid class and you know, take one of your IFAC classes or learn how a tourniquet really works and things like that. But how many people actually have first aid kits in their car?
Not many. I know because I've scrambled through a few of them looking for supplies.
Yeah, I'll lay this out for some of the people in my family. I've got one brother and sister-in-law, and they've got 3 kids, and they've got really nice SUV, and they don't drive a lot, but I mean they travel a lot and they commute back and forth to work. Well, they have a first aid kit, and I use that term extremely loosely, that they bought at Walmart or
Target
wherever,
or someplace.
Right, and it's literally like an 8.5 by 11 size sheet of paper. And it's got Band-Aids in it.
Yeah.
And they've got it in the back of their SUV in like the most inconvenient place in the world where you have to take all this stuff out, open this compartment, and then pull it out.
Well, you got to do the best with what you can. Like the truck, the best place for me to store my emergency equipment is under the back seat.
Right.
All right. That's not a great place because if I'm in an accident, am I going to be able to get to it? Maybe not.
Right,
but it's the only place I can really do it. Now I have my backpack with my individual first aid kit in it too, but in an accident, where's that going to be? It'd be thrown anywhere. I don't buckle it in, so I don't necessarily know where it's going to be. So it then becomes a question of, okay, to what level do you want to go?
Yeah.
I could strap that thing to my body every time I'm in an accident because as they see in aircraft accidents, if it's not on your body, you're probably not going to leave the aircraft with it. So that backpack in the back, it's comforting.
Yeah.
But we're relying on hope to think that I'm actually going to get to it.
That it's going to, and that it's going to stay where you left it.
Well, that's carabiners help, but I'm not sure that piece of the aircraft will still be attached at that point, but who knows? But so anyway, to get back, there are little things that people can do. And food storage, do you need to just go out today and get a year's worth of food? Probably not a good idea. Not the best way to do it.
But it's a simplified concept.
Right.
Again, it's another one of your lessons. It's simplify everything that you can. If you overthink things, if you go, okay, I want to prepare, I'm going to get some food, so I'm going to go buy your supply. Well, unless you've got 20-30 grand just sitting around with nothing to do,
and then
probably
then
not.
What are you going to buy? You're going to buy those bucket crap foods that have absolutely zero nutrition value and nobody's going to eat.
Yeah, you're like, oh, tomorrow I'm just going to switch to my food storage. No, you're not. Especially if you're like me and you have kids. It's hard enough sometimes just to get my kids to eat the good stuff that we make.
Yeah,
if I try to switch them over to, okay, kids, here you go.
MREs for the week.
MREs, Mountain House, and some hard wheat all week. Like my kids are not going to like.
As the saying goes, hunger is the best spice.
That is true. That is true. But the other problem is that your nutritional system, your digestive system, is not going to handle that at all. It's not going to like you totally switching diet. So go out and buy a week of what you do.
Well, when my wife and I,
a couple of extra cans.
Yeah,
$10 a week.
That's exactly how we did it. We rearranged some stuff in our house, and we took an old coat closet and made a pantry out of it. Right. We added some shelving. We started every time we went to the grocery store, we'd buy a couple extra cans of canned vegetables or a couple extra cans of
the
tuna.
stuff you normally eat.
Yeah, the stuff that I'm gonna eat and that I know I will eat. And we just a couple of weeks, a month or so went by, and now we've got 2 to 3 weeks worth of this stuff stored up, and we've just continued to kind of build on that. So
the best system that I've seen is everything under the sun, and you can Google it. The lady it's completely open. You can download and distribute it, whatever you want, but anything under the sun or everything under the sun. And she basically lays out how you can create a year's worth of food using the same food that you already eat. So you set up a rotation system. Of course, that says you're going to have to do some canning of meats and stuff like that, or buy canned meats. But the idea is to use only foods that you're going to eat anyway.
Right.
And she claims that you can fit a year's worth of food for one person under a bed, which if you package it right is probably pretty close.
I have a friend of mine who built their kids' bed frames out of food storage.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like all the food
Emery
storage.
boxes.
Emery boxes. Yes. So it's like boxes and buckets and everything that have been evened out, nice and perfect. So they have same size boxes. And then they have a nice hard like plywood thing over the top. Yeah. And then, normal box spring and mattress and boom. And then a nice bed skirt hides it all. No one knows it's under there. It's not obvious. It's not ugly. But there it is. So
and now you're not spending money on a bed frame.
Yeah. Plus it's saving money. So we have to take our second break.
All right.
Are we gonna hear our Ar500 Armor video commercial again? Oh, I'm so excited.
Yes.
It was a good commercial. James did a fantastic job.
Good job, James.
He has a better voice than we do. That's why he always wants to do commercials.
He's got a face for radio.
He does have a face for radio, but a voice of angels. Good job, James. All right. So we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to continue talking about this topic of preparedness and why it needs to be part of your life. You're listening to The Arms Room.
Everyone's going to need an attorney at some point in their life. I'm no different. Hey, everyone, it's James from Vets On. Whether it was my last will and testament before deployment or my ongoing custody battle for my children during my divorce, I needed help, so I lawyered up. If you need help, I urge you to contact Capstrom Law Firm. Capstrom Law Firm in Springfield, Missouri services clients throughout the state in criminal law, personal injury, and family law. With over 13 years practicing law, Tom Capstrom understands both law and court procedures and how stressful they can be. Let Tom Capstrom Law Firm and his dedicated staff take the stress and worry out of a difficult situation by calling him today. We feel so strong about the work that Tom and his staff are doing that he'll be a monthly guest on the show. Tom is a veteran and a listener, for God's sake, so you know the guy is solid and will fight for you. Give Tom a call today by calling 417-864-0552 or email Tom at capstromlaw.com. And don't forget to tell him that Vets On sent you.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertising.
If you or someone you know is looking for a new job or career, you need to visit the pros. National Career Fairs at ncfairs.com. National Career Fairs hosts over 300 career fairs a year nationwide. The events are free and give you the perfect chance to meet some of the top employers in your area face-to-face. To find the nearest career fair to you, visit ncfairs.com. Again, that's ncfairs.com. What are you waiting for?
Would you like to own a thriving business and help employ local veterans? The Metroplex Handyman Construction and Landscape business is the opportunity you've been waiting for. The Metroplex is your gateway to an affordable startup business with 0% financing for qualifying owners. By owning a Metroplex franchise, you will be hiring veterans, providing them both income and opportunity, while at the same time providing your customers a way to say, thank you for your service to our nation's veterans. For more information, visit Metroplex.org. Again, that's Metroplex.org or call 928-284-2022.
You are a professional. There's no second chances, no do-overs, no theme music. This isn't a movie or a video game. This is your life. Your life and the lives of those you swore to protect and serve depend on you staying in the fight. Get the best at what you do, and you deserve to wear the best. Ar500 Armor is the right choice when lives matter and bullets count. Ar500 Armor is 100% made in the USA. Their level 3 body armor starts at $65 and is stress fracture resistant. Ar500 Armor offers a 20-year shelf life with unprecedented multi-hit capabilities. What does that mean to you? It means you're getting a top American-made product that could save your life at an affordable price. Take it from an infantryman and an Iraq-Afghanistan veteran. The last thing you need to worry about is if your body armor will last in a two-way live fire range. Visit Ar500 Armor today by going to Ar500Armor.com. Again, that's Ar500Armor.com. And don't forget to tell them that the Arms Room sent you.
You're listening to The Arms Room on the Vets on Media Network.
All right, you're back on the Arms Room. We're talking about preparedness and the preparedness lifestyle and how to use it to avoid trouble and divert trouble in your life. And I want to go back to Tim, who sent us another message. And this message actually really is a real life example of this. So Tim was in a pretty bad vehicle accident a couple months ago. And he wrote me this message. He said, I keep my vehicle med kit in my work truck strapped to the headrest. It was right where I needed it when I wrecked. It was a pretty bad vehicle accident. He was pretty busted up by it, but theirs is
right.
It's accessible. So sometimes it's not just about having the equipment. Sometimes it's about having the equipment properly located, also knowing how to use it, also knowing when to use it, having it accessible. Like you said, here he is, he was seatbelted in, very beat up, busted, probably not going to do any kind of self-extract. He's not going to be rummaging around in his vehicle trying to get
under the back seats. Oh, yeah. Where was that blanket?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's strapped in there. He's not going anywhere. So I think that's like I do the same thing. I keep my med kit on the back seat. Mine's on the passenger side, but I keep mine on the back seat of the passenger side. And really, probably wouldn't be a bad idea to move it behind my own headrest, but I just keep it so that I can reach over and grab it and pull it off, and it's within reach. And I think that's important because Tim had obviously said ahead of time, has the mindset to say, this is likely to happen to me. I'm on the highway all the time in his job. I'm on the road all the time, and I could wreck. And he did hit a spot of black ice, if I remember the story correctly, and it really wrecked him bad, and it wasn't by any fault of his own. He wasn't doing anything he shouldn't have been doing. It was just
life happens.
So I want to go back to that blog that you mentioned. It's everything under the sun blog.blogspot.com. And during the break, I was reading some of the stuff on here. It's actually pretty cool.
Oh, it's really good.
There's a lot of good info on there. So
if anybody is interested in getting started in food storage, don't know how to do it, they should download her PDF and read it. Even if you don't follow her system, just the thoughts that she goes through, it's very, very well thought out, very, very well put together.
So another interesting aspect of the preparedness lifestyle, and I guess you could kind of relate this to the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, is when you're looking at things from a preparedness standpoint, are we always just preparing for ourselves? And I know a lot of people who will say, I'm only preparing for myself. Everyone else can go to hell, right? It's just me and my family. And it's like, okay. Yeah. So you're going to hunker down in your house with all your food and your water and in this mythical end of the world scenario. And it's just going to be you and your people. And you're just going to hunker down. You're going to build a little wall and throw out a bunch of concertina wire and defend your home. And it's just going to be you with all these supplies. And while other people are starving and dying outside, you're just going to turn a blind eye to that because you're some form of subhuman. And B, you're not going to be able to, you're going to be able to, hold off this horde of people who are eventually going to be driven.
Because you never have to sleep and you can cover all four sides of your house at once.
Right. Yeah. I am the ultimate strategist, tactician, defensive master. That's not realistic, and so sometimes it's simple as I remember, having a power outage on our block. It's been several years ago, where my neighbors came to me and, after a while of everyone going, hold on, the lights are on at the Stilson's house, you know what I mean? Yeah. And it was, kind of poor planning maybe on my part, letting everyone know that I still had plenty of lights available. One of my neighbors came and was like, hey dude, can I borrow a flashlight? And part of me is like, no, because you're an idiot and you don't have your own flashlight and batteries. So,
it's $7.
Way to be the adult.
Fumble around in the darkness, idiot. But instead, it was like, yeah, I got plenty of flashlights. I'm not going to give you my best flashlight. I'm not going to give you one of these really cool lanterns I'm using in my house. I'm going to give you
one of these $8 Rayovacs that come with 2 D-cell batteries available at Walmart.
Yes, I do have a flashlight for you to borrow.
And I hope they still work.
But you know what? That not only helped to kind of build a good relationship with us as neighbors, but it also, allowed that guy to go, okay, if I'm in dire straits, maybe I could ask him for help. Now, do I want people coming to my door when they need help? Not really, but
it opens a conversation for you now to actually talk to the guy about a preparedness lifestyle.
Did that guy then go buy some flashlights? Yes, he did, is the answer. I know he did. And he came to me for some advice on lanterns and things like that. You know that obviously you can't have a gas lantern inside your house, poor choice. And so, you know, he came to me on advice for some of the better quality lights and things that'll hold battery life and all that. And so we were able to reach him. So now, should something more severe happen, I have somebody who
you have an ally.
I have someone else who's prepared. I have a little bit of an ally now.
Even if he's only prepared a little bit.
Even if it's a little.
So, you know, we used to talk about the pillars of self-reliance, and the final pillar is actually community. Because you're only as strong as your team. And sometimes you're the weak link on the team, sometimes it's somebody else, but you can't be everywhere all the time. You've got to sleep. Gee, guess what? You might get hurt too, or you know, whatever. So the idea of, and that's part of the problem with the popular media presentation of self-reliance and preparedness, is it's this lone wolf, or at best a psycho family who's holding up someplace. But really, the best way to do self-reliance is to get a whole community. And that's why I love that book, 1 Second After, because that's a discussion of, okay, a town's experience. What did this whole city go through, and how did they come together, and what issues do they have? Because look, however much food you've got, it's going to run out. And I don't know if you've ever done any farming, but
that ain't easy.
The thought of growing
just trying
enough
to grow
food just for me. Forget my family, just enough food for me. And now what about animal husbandry and all the other sort of stuff that goes into actually having a normal civilized style life?
Well, hold on a second. I just bought a whole bunch of, like, a bucket of seeds. So when the end of the world comes, I'm just going to plant my own garden.
Right.
Let me know how that works out, buddy.
When was the last time you did any gardening? Oh, did you buy a shovel? Do you know what it's like to till soil in Arizona? I hope you have a backhoe.
That's why I built raised beds at my house.
That's right.
We just bring dirt in.
Well, here's the thing. And why do we train? That's a very interesting question. Why do we train? We train in order to screw up and to see which of our pieces of equipment are actually worth anything. So if it's the same thing with gardening. Okay, look, if you're not gardening every year, you're probably not prepared to grow a garden that's going to sustain you and your family in the apocalypse. It's just probably not a very realistic plan.
And not just the gardening, because people think, oh, I'm going to grow all this food. Well, let's say, because I grew up in the South and grew up on different farms and, you know, throughout, and dairy farms and stuff like that. And, you know, you go and you make your harvest. And some years it's a pain in the butt to get enough to really make it worth your while. But then there's other years where you just have like a banner crop.
Sure.
Well, now what do you do with all that extra food? Do you know how to can your food? Do you know how to store your canned food appropriately? So, I mean, a lot of people look at gardening as, oh, I'll just grow my food. Well, there's a lot more into it than just growing it. You have to be able to store it. You have to be able to maintain it.
And do you know how to take whatever portion you're going to set aside to grow next year and actually prepare those seeds and
prepare that soil, prepare those seeds,
all that stuff, so that it doesn't spoil?
Yep.
You know, what are you going to do with your potatoes so that you have actually potato buds for next year?
And this isn't unreachable stuff. People can start doing that now. And even people who live in the city go, oh gosh, I don't have 1,000, acres to farm on or whatever. It doesn't matter, because my wife grows, and she hasn't done it for a couple of years because we have some new little ones, but she used to grow quite a bit on our patio. We had a huge patio garden. I mean, literally gunny sacks, laundry baskets, 5-gallon buckets. She grew a pretty amazing. We grew corn, man. I mean, we grew all kinds of fruits and vegetables. It was relatively easy and it was relatively easy for me because I mostly watched, but it was difficult it was probably a difficult learning experience for my wife, but she went through that learning experience. Right. So now she's more prepared. And, when the little ones are a little bit older, then she'll be able to get back into it. I know she misses it. I certainly miss it. I love just looking out on our patio and seeing this great garden, and she enjoyed doing it. And it's a fun thing to do. It's an experimental thing to do. And you can learn about, like what you said, getting it ready for the next season.
And actually, I mean, if you want to take it to the extreme, there's a concept called the food forest, where you could turn your city backyard into a self-sustaining, primarily self-sustaining. I mean, annuals, and there are things you're going to have to replenish, but you could actually create a self-sustaining, almost self-watering system.
Oh yeah,
that would provide an awful lot of food.
You throw in
right.
hydroponics, aquaponics, things like
Right.
that, man. There is all kinds of cool systems you can
And
set
it does not take a lot of space.
No, it doesn't. It really doesn't if you do it right, and because you start layering and all kinds of other sort of stuff. But now, does everybody want to go through that? Okay, no. Which is why we talk about food storage.
Sure.
But understand that however much food you have, it's going to run out.
Yeah.
Sooner or later.
Especially if you're looking at something long term. If we're not just looking at a job loss, okay, I lose my job today and I have a couple months worth of food at home. Okay, that's probably going to be enough to get me through the hard times, you know?
And that's why I kind of, maybe it's an evil way of looking at it, but there's the 6-month killing zone.
Right.
So your primary job is just in the end of the world
Is to
scenario.
outlive everyone who's going to die in the first
That's
6 months.
right.
No, you're
because
right.
most people are going to be gone in 6 months.
No, you're absolutely right. And that's part of the thing that we have to look at from that big end of the world, quote unquote, experience. That's really not what, honestly, that's not what I'm planning for.
No.
You know, if I'm building up these big supplies of ammunition, I'm not building them up so I can invade China or fight the government or whatever people have these wet dreams about. That's not what I have all this ammo for. I have all this ammo because I shoot a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I shoot a lot of rounds and I need to store them up in case there is a crazy shortage. When Sandy Hook came, you know how much ammo I bought during that crazy panic of a year? 0 rounds.
Right.
Do you know how much that affected me? 0. I had tons of rounds. I had plenty of ammunition to get myself through those hard times where everybody else was spending $1 a shot or 50 cents a shot or these ridiculous prices. I don't worry about that. I'm not buying at those crazy prices. Yeah. You know, people are buying AR-15 PMags for $60, $80. I'm not worried about all that. I got tons of them that I bought for $9.
I know I'm the guest, but we're not supposed to be talking about guns.
Oh, dang it. Dang it. I almost made it.
Well, that wasn't necessarily. That was more of a storage thing.
Yeah. Okay.
But you did
had
bring
to
up your lever
reestablish-
gun.
Oh, you did bring up the lever gun first, sir.
I'm the officer.
I'm above the rules. I'm above the rules.
Don't do as I do. Do as I say.
That's right. Wow. All right.
That was for a point. I don't know what your rant was all about.
All right. Well, one thing I want to talk about, because it's time for us to wrap it up. We could talk about this forever, and I think we're gonna have to talk about this again. And one of the times we are gonna be talking about this again is I want to bring up just spend like the next minute because we're pretty much out of time, but spend the next real quick minute talking about Matt's new show. So Matt is gonna have a new show here on the Vets on Media Network, and it's gonna be about the art of living dangerously, right?
Right. The Art of Living Dangerously is the title. Really, it's just about how doing dangerous things make us better people.
But we're not just talking about skydiving here.
No, we're not. And that's the beauty of it. Sometimes it's just as simple as thinking dangerously. And thinking dangerously is exactly the topic we're talking about today, where, gee, I'm going to be more prepared for emergencies. That's not a very popular mindset.
Is that kind of
culture.
not socially accepted?
Right.
Talk with some of your friends. They may think you're weird. It's a dangerous thing to do.
Yeah. And I think it's important that we actually get out of our comfort zones, challenge ourselves, question the rules that we're living by, not just the external rules, but our internal rules. Mm-hmm. And some of our internal rules are like when my neighbor said, well, I couldn't have a gun in the house because my family would just shoot themselves. Well, great. Okay. So you would rather that your wife and kids get raped and murdered rather than giving them a chance to actually defend themselves.
Because thinking dangerous would be, I'm going to buy that firearm, I'm going to get some training, I'm going to spend the time, money, energy, effort.
I'm again going to
do this.
Invest in myself, invest in my family, and I'm going to do this as a means of insurance. And how much insurance you want to buy? Well, that depends on, how big of a risk you think that particular item is. But to just say, oh gosh, my wife would just kill herself. Yeah, I'd trust her with a gun right now before I give you one. Trust me, buddy.
So your show is going to be hitting before March 15th is the
somewhere the first half of March we'll do it, and we'll kick it off here on the Vets on Media Network and see how it goes.
Cool. We'll certainly keep our listeners updated as that develops. Hopefully I'll be able to. Nice applause. Nicely done. I'll hopefully be able to work the first couple episodes with you, and then we'll kind of go from there. But you already have so many good ideas. You've been sending me some ideas where I look at it, I'm like, dude, you have a year's worth of shows. Do you think I can fit this into the first episode? I'm like, you can fit that in the first year, man. Holy crap. But yeah, we got a lot of good stuff coming up on that show for sure. So thanks for coming today.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Thanks
for your input. Any parting words, John? Words of wisdom?
I got nothing, man. I think it was a good show. I wish I had more time to sit around and talk about this after the show, but I unfortunately have commitments. So.
Yeah, well, Matt and I got to go meet our old friend Frank Riggs. Yeah, we'll do some things.
Well, if you like this topic, listen to our first couple of episodes on the art of living dangerously, because Glenn and I will be kind of hitting back on this again.
Yeah, for sure, and go into a little different depth. So Matt's got his 11 points of living dangerously that he'll be posting up on his new website soon. Very, very good essay. I really enjoyed reading it. So next week, we're going to be on location at the Ar500.
This music is so sad.
No, it's not. Wait for it. Wait for it. It's Madison Rising, man. That's why I call it Madison Rising. It rises up. All right. So next week, we're going to be on location at Ar500 Armor. We're going to be shooting armor. So we're going to be live shooting armor. If you don't believe this stuff works, watch next week, because there are going to be no redos. We're going to hit this armor with several different types of guns, and we're going to shoot a lot. So what's not to love about next week? If you don't normally tune in on video, you definitely should. If you just get the audio next week, well, that's all that you get. But good idea to tune in next week with video if possible, because it's going to be a great time. So until next time, stay aware, stay safe, and train hard. You've been listening to The Arms Room.
Gave proof through the night.